Hand over your keys, Daniel. Right now, in front of everyone. That was the first sentence my new daughter-in-law ever said to me that wasn't dipped in fake sugar. She didn't whisper it either. She said it into a live microphone with a champagne flute in her other hand, like she was doing charity. 106 people turned their heads and looked at me. Some of them were still holding forks in the air, waiting to see if the steak was as overcooked as it looked. Some of them lifted their phones because they thought it was part of the reception program. Because these days, humiliation is just crowd work if you smile. Me, I was holding a cup of bad decaf and wondering how I had raised a son who'd let his new wife try to take my front door while the DJ was still setting up the father-son slideshow. I should back up. My name is Daniel Cole. Most folks call me Dan. 61 years old. Widower. Before tonight, I thought the worst moment of my life was sitting next to my wife Linda's hospital bed, watching her stop being a person and start being a memory. I was wrong. She got to 20. By then, even the DJ had stopped pretending not to stare. You know how people say there are moments when you go numb and float outside your body? That didn't happen. I felt everything. I felt her fingers, hard and fast. I felt the heat rise in my skin. I felt the burn up the side of my neck. I felt the way some of the guests flinched in second-hand embarrassment for me, and I also felt the way some of the younger ones leaned in like they were on a reality show. But the real thing I felt, the thing that cracked something in me and let something new and ugly start walking around, was that my son, my boy, the kid I taught to ride a bike in a parking lot on Martin Street and ran after him in work boots, stood there and let it happen. No. Wrong. Not let it happen. Enjoyed it. The ballroom looked like money. That kind of rented money, where everything is pale and gold and you pose under it, but you do not own any of it. White roses in glass cylinders, linen napkins folded like little sculptures, a ridiculous ice thing that was supposed to be initials, but really looked like a pair of kidneys on a pedestal. Avery Lane, now Avery Cole, stood in the center of it like she was getting sworn in as governor of someone else's state. Skin like porcelain, hair sprayed into that shine you only get out of a stylist's chair, not a bathroom. That thin smile women use when they are about to cut you and want you to thank them for the effort. "Let's do it right now," she said into the mic, turning back toward the tables, putting her free hand on her chest the way media people do on morning shows. She works in brand consulting. I didn't even know that was a job until Matt started dating her. Far as I can tell, it means she talks in taglines, even off the clock, and everything in life is something to leverage. She said, "This is actually kind of perfect. Family is about trust. Everyone here knows Matt is starting his company. They know how hard he's worked. And everyone knows Dan has that sweet little second-floor apartment he doesn't really need alone. So let's do this tonight. Let's make it official. Give us the keys, Dan. Right now, in front of our friends. So they can witness it. Linda would want you to." People gasped, not in horror, in excitement, like they could feel this turning into a story they'd get to repeat later in kitchens. I saw them leaning toward each other at the round tables, whispering. The video people swung their cameras, like sharks catching scent. And then she walked straight to me and held out her empty hand, palm up, like I was a valet. I didn't stand, I didn't blink, I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "No." One syllable, calm as I could make it. Little smile. 61-year-old man in an off-the-rack charcoal jacket from JCPenney, sitting at table 5 among the cousins nobody remembers the names of. You would have thought I spat in her drink. Her face changed. Avery's voice can slice thin when she wants to sound professional. But when it dropped, when the stage mask slipped, it wasn't professional anymore. It was mean. High school queen mean. "Excuse me," she said. "It's a full sentence," I said. "No." I felt somebody at the table across from me choke on a laugh and try to hide it. Avery leaned down, still on mic, so her face was level with mine. From that distance, I could see the thickness of her foundation. I could also see just how cold her eyes really were. These were not eyes you argue with. These were eyes that decide and then rearrange the world until the decision is true. "You're being embarrassing," she said with that tight whisper smile. "Just give them to me." "Embarrassing," I said. "You slapped me 20 times and I'm the embarrassing one. I'm getting new material tonight. This is great." She blinked, that little flicker of surprise. She hadn't expected me to talk back. That's important. Remember that. None of them expected me to talk back. She straightened. She turned back to the room. She lifted her mic like a ringmaster. "So here's what's going on, everybody. Dan is upset because he doesn't understand the plan. He doesn't need to be living by himself anymore. He forgets things, like paying bills, like taking his medicine. It really scares us. Matt and I are going to move into his apartment so we can keep him safe and cared for. We're going to take responsibility. You all heard him say he's going to sign it over. He said it, right, babe?" Matt came up behind her on cue. My son in his fitted navy tux, hair trimmed tight at the sides, beard lined up perfect. He looked good. He always looks good now. He used to look like a kid who worked out of a pickup and ate gas station food. Now he posts progress videos in clean branded hoodies and calls his crew our team. He runs a renovation outfit, residential rehabs, small commercial interiors, nothing huge. He calls it Lane and Cole Renovations because Cole and Lane didn't sound aspirational enough. He stepped up behind his wife and put his hand on her shoulder. He looked out over the crowd like a candidate. I guess that's what she teaches him to do. Then he looked down at me, and I watched my son's face go empty. "You said you'd sign it, Dad," Matt said. "Don't make this weird. Not, can we talk after? Not, can we figure this out? Not even, please. Don't make this weird." I felt my jaw get tight. I said we'd talk about it. I didn't say I'd hand you my keys in the middle of your buffet. Some people laughed. Good. I wanted that. I wanted them to know I heard myself. Avery, still smiling, reached down with her free hand and snapped her fingers twice like I was a dog that had wandered too close to the cake. "Keys, Daniel," she said. "Now." Something slid in my head. I don't mean like a switch flipped. I mean like something heavy came off the rails. The kind of sound you feel in your molars. I said, "Sweetheart, the lease is in my name. The utilities are in my name. The furniture is mine. The bed is mine. Even the ugly recliner with the duct tape on the arm is mine. If you move into my apartment, where exactly would I live? Your pantry." Someone at table 3 actually snorted. That was when Avery slapped me. Not once. Not, "How dare you," like a soap opera. She went at me fast, small rapid hits, fingers stiff and sharp, popping the side of my face like she was playing a game at a carnival booth. 1, 2, 3. Behind her, some idiot in a vest, one of the groomsmen who'd already had too much top-shelf whiskey he didn't pay for, started counting out loud. The others joined in, hooting. They thought it was funny. They thought it was a bit. By 6, my cheek stung and my ear rang. By 12, I tasted copper. She stopped because her palm hurt, not because she'd grown a conscience. And then my son leaned over me and screamed, loud enough that you could hear it at the back bar over the clink of ice, into a mic that fed 2 rented speakers, and also every single phone that was already filming. "Shut up, you parasite. I need you to hear that. I need you to sit with it. My kid, the boy I taught to hammer a straight nail. The boy I gave my contacts list to when he couldn't get credit with any supplier in town. The boy I sat with in a truck at 6 in the morning, showing him how to fill out bid sheets, line by line so he didn't get cleaned out by some cheap client. He looked down at me and called me a parasite, and the room did not rush to stop him. Some faces dropped. Sure. Some hands went to mouths. Sure. But nobody stepped in. Nobody pulled him back, not even my daughter Julia. She was standing off to the side by the cake, in a pale lilac dress, hand on her little boy's shoulder, mouth a perfect O. She didn't move. She didn't say, "Matt, stop." She didn't run. That hurt worse than the slap. That told me everything. Avery held out her hand again. "Keys," she said. "Now." I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, saw a pink smear. Not a lot, just enough humiliation to glisten. I said, loud enough for the mic to catch, "No." And then I did something I had promised myself I would never do, because I didn't want to be that father. I took my phone out of my jacket pocket, and I called for backup. Not a cop, not a lawyer. I called a man named Eric Talbot. Most people in that room know Eric. He's been around construction in this county longer than building code. Eric runs a supplier network. Doors, drywall, sheet goods, insulation, fasteners, you name it. If you've ever built an office lobby within 40 miles of here and you didn't want to pay retail, you talk to Eric. He can get you product. He can get you on net 60 when you don't deserve net 30. And if you burn him, he can also make sure you do not get a single stick of lumber on credit anywhere inside the loop. Eric is old school. He does not post. He does not brand. He answers only for people he respects. I left something out. I also felt something else wake up and sit up slow, because I knew, while Matt was yelling "Parasite," that he had no idea how his life was actually built. He thought Eric did him favors because Eric believed in him. He thought wrong. Eric took the call on the first ring. He didn't even say hello. He said, "You want me to come?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Where are you?" I said, "Lane Event Center, Ballroom B. Bring that voice you use when you chew drywall reps." He said, "Give me 5. I hung up. Avery was still holding her hand out like a cop who'd run out of patience. "Are you senile?" she hissed into her smile. "Sometimes I forget where I parked at the grocery store," I said. "I don't forget who owns my name on a deed." "You don't even take your pills," she said. "I don't have pills," I said. "You made that up." "Dan," Matt said, "you're making us look insane." "Son," I said, "you did that yourself." He jerked back like I'd hit him. People at nearby tables gasped like I'd punched the groom. I almost felt bad. Then I remembered Parasite. There are pauses in a room like that. Weird pauses. Like everyone takes a breath at the same time because they sense danger, but they don't know which way it's coming from yet. That pause lasted maybe 20 seconds. The double doors at the back of the ballroom swung open. Heads snapped around. And when Eric Talbot stepped through those doors in his scuffed work boots and his rumpled grey sport coat, the whole air changed. I said, "People know Eric. Let me be clear. They don't just know him. They owe him." Half the men in that room had done work using material that got floated on Eric's word. There's contractors in that town who are feeding their families because Eric told a yard, "Extend him 2 pallets of board, I'll vouch for him." Now here he was, walking in like a union rep to a safety violation. "Where is he?" Eric said, voice booming. He didn't need a mic. He had lungs like a generator. His face was already red. He looked like a bulldozer that had grown a conscience and learned English. I raised my hand. He came straight to me. And in front of my son, in front of my son's new wife, in front of my daughter and her kid and 100 people with cameras, he pulled me up from my chair and hugged me the way a man hugs another man at a funeral. "This man," Eric said, turning, pointing at me with his whole arm. "You don't touch this man." Silence. You could hear ice settling in glasses across the room. Eric wasn't done. "You don't raise your voice to him. You don't breathe heavy at him. You don't even lean in his direction unless you're saying thank you, because if it wasn't for him vouching for you to me, you wouldn't have had a single sheet of moisture-resistant drywall in any job site this past year. You hear me?" Matt stared, mouth open, color draining. He hadn't known that. I could see that hit him. He'd believed his own hero story. That was Avery's influence, too. She builds narratives for a living. She had built one for him, about him. Self-made. Built from grit. Family business built on hustle. Eric walked 2 steps past me, planted himself between me and the happy couple, like a line foreman breaking up a fight. He turned toward the guests, raised his chin and said, loud enough for the bartender out in the hall to hear, "Anybody in here who just laughed while this man got slapped, you don't call me for credit next month." I swear to you, I heard a woman start crying. Not because she felt bad for me, because she just watched her husband's pipeline fall through the floor. Then Eric leaned in closer, dropped his voice to a growl, and spoke only for Matt and Avery, but half the room strained to hear it. "You two just made the dumbest play I've ever seen," he said, "and I've seen a guy try to return tile after he'd grouted it." "You can't talk to us like that," Avery snapped, finding some backbone. "This is a family moment." "No," Eric said. "This is a business moment, little girl. Family's what you threw away 10 minutes ago." She went pale. Matt tried to puff up. "Stay out of this, Eric," he said. "This is between me and my father." Eric barked a dry, humorless laugh. "Boy," he said, "your father is the only reason anybody in this room took you serious. You just broke that, and you did it on camera." He pointed with his chin at the phones. It was only then that Matt seemed to realize 50 people were filming, 50 different angles of him calling me a parasite, and his bride lighting me up like a heavy bag. His face flickered, panic behind the anger. That's the moment something inside me stopped being sad and turned into something sharp. Because I knew right there that I had seen the truth. I had seen where the power lines actually ran. I had seen exactly how I could take my son apart with nothing but the truth and the titles I already held. I didn't say a word more that night. There was no need. Eric did the heavy lifting. People started whispering, fast, and that whisper had a shape to it. I could feel it moving through the room like a draft. Old man got slapped and called a parasite at his son's wedding. In public, on video, front row. That's the kind of story that grows teeth. Avery tried to laugh it off. "He's just tired," she said on mic, doing damage control. "You know how dads get. They act tough, but they're so stubborn. He doesn't mean any of it. We're just trying to keep him safe." "Safe from what?" Eric said without missing a beat. "His own recliner." People laughed, nervous but real. "We'll talk tomorrow," Matt muttered at me through clenched teeth. "No," I said. "We won't." He flinched again. I liked that. And that was it. That was the last sentence I said to my son as a father. Everything after that, I said as something else. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? The next morning, the right side of my face looked like I'd fallen asleep on a waffle iron. I made coffee slow. My hands weren't steady. I guess you don't walk away from getting slapped in front of 100 people and act like nothing snapped inside. I sat at my small kitchen table in my second-floor apartment, the one with the bad view of the alley and the one window that fogs if you boil pasta, and I listened to the building settle like it does when the sun warms one wall faster than the other. My duplex isn't much. White siding that needs washing. 2 stories. I live upstairs, rent the downstairs unit month to month to a quiet nurse who keeps to herself and always pays on time. Linda and I bought this place before Julia was born, back when interest rates were still human and you could get equity out of sweat and drywall dust. We put in the stairs ourselves. I patched the roof last summer because hiring someone to do it would have cost twice as much and taken 3 times as long. When Linda died, people started asking how long I'd keep up with all that. Like it was a hobby I was bringing to a close. Like grief was a curtain call. I kept up. Why wouldn't I? What else was I going to do? Sit around waiting to be stored somewhere. Anyway, I was sitting with my coffee and my busted pride, and I knew, this feels like cliché self-pity time, but I don't get that. I can't afford that. The second you show weakness in my family lately, somebody calls it evidence. So instead of crying into my mug like I wanted, I pulled the dented grey lockbox from the cabinet under the sink. This lockbox is not fancy. I bought it from a hardware store in 1999 after somebody broke into my truck and stole Linda's glove compartment paperwork, and I told myself never again. It's metal. It smells faintly of old paper and WD-40. The latch sticks unless you jiggle it just right. Inside is everything that matters. Birth certificates, marriage license, insurance paperwork, the title to my 2008 Ford. My will, though now I was already thinking that was going to get revised with a marker and some fire. And deeds. Real paper. Not PDFs, not emails. Deeds. I laid them out on the table like tarot cards. Duplex at 4112A and 412B Martin Street. Legal owner, Daniel Cole. My name. Not the Cole family. Not Cole & Cole. Not Lane & Cole Holdings. Which I found out later Matt tried to register with the state last year like he's some mogul. But he spelled holdings wrong in the paperwork, so it bounced. My name. Full stop. Then, Warehouse Unit C, 57 Industrial Court. Legal owners, Daniel Cole, 51%. Matthew Cole, 49%. That one made me sit up straighter. Let me explain that one. When Matt decided to go legit with his renovation outfit, he needed space. No more working entirely out of a truck bed and a storage cage behind his buddy's house. He needed somewhere to stage cabinets, tile, tools, a little shop, a little yard. Nothing glamorous, just 4 metal walls and a roll-up door. The warehouse unit on Industrial Court is nothing to look at. Corrugated steel, cracked asphalt, chain-link gate, half-dead weeds sprouting through gravel. But location matters. It's tucked back away from zoning headaches, and it's cheap enough that a small contractor can make it work if he's not an idiot. The thing is, banks don't like lending to small contractors who have late credit cards and no collateral. And suppliers don't like extending credit unless they know you can pay. And landlords don't like handing over keys to heavy-use industrial space to people who call themselves CEO on Instagram and have no actual assets. This is where I came in. I signed. I didn't just co-sign, by the way. I bought in. I put cash down that came out of what Linda and I had saved, and I made sure, and here is where it gets beautiful now, that my name was on the controlling share of that property. At the time, I told myself I was protecting us both. Matt would get stability. I'd get security in my old age. I never said, one day I'm probably going to have to save my own life with this. I just said, this is smart. Looking at that deed now, my cheek throbbing where Avery had gone to work on me, I felt a slow heat in my stomach that wasn't rage and wasn't fear. It was something like purpose. Because last night, in front of 100 witnesses, my son and his brand-happy new wife declared war on me. They called me unsafe. They called me weak. They tried to take my home while I was still warm in it. And here, in my hands, was the quiet answer. I didn't know yet that I was going to take everything from them. Not everything. I'm not a monster. But I was going to take what they tried to take from me. Security, dignity, control. You call me a parasite, boy. Watch how fast I stop feeding you. My phone buzzed on the table. Julia. Julia is 28. Dark hair like her mother. Soft voice that puts people at ease. She works as a paralegal at a real estate law firm downtown and carries herself like someone who learned early that calm equals control. She has a little boy, Liam, with a guy she doesn't talk about anymore. Liam is my grandson, and if there's anything left inside me that isn't cracked right now, it's that kid. Last night, when Avery started her keys speech, Julia didn't step in. That had been replaying in my head like a bad loop all morning. Her text lit the screen. Dad, are you up? I stared at it for a long minute. Then I typed back, been up. Call. She called. Fast, like she'd been waiting to see if I'd answer. Dad, she said, voice soft like a nurse delivering bad news. Oh my God, are you okay? What happened last night got out of hand. Avery had way too much champagne, and she gets, like, big. You know, she doesn't have boundaries. You know how she is. There it was, that soft excuse voice. We're just girls being girls. You know how we are. It's kind of cute, right? She didn't mean it, Dad. Come on. I counted, I said. She had 20 boundaries. Julia let out a tiny breathy laugh, like I was being adorable. Dad, please, I know it looked bad, but listen, the important thing now is we should just smooth this out and get ahead of the probate stuff before it becomes a mess. That word probate made something in my chest go tight. Silence for half a second. Then, Dad, she said in that you're being dramatic voice. I must have missed the service, I said. Was it nice? Did you guys do a slideshow? You have plenty of footage from last night. Dad, she said again, this time a little sharper. Can you be serious for 1 second? This is a legal thing. If we don't get your signature on this stuff in a clean way, when you pass, it's going to be a total nightmare. Taxes will be insane. We'll lose half the value just to the state. I don't want Matt to get screwed. I don't want you to get taken advantage of later. If we line things up now, everybody wins. Everybody, I said. Yes, she said. Everybody including me, I said. Of course, she said. You want me in assisted living, I said. That's not what this is, she said fast. That was Avery being dramatic. Nobody's forcing you. We're just trying to centralize assets and streamline administration of your estate. I almost laughed. Centralize assets, streamline administration. I have a kid who can talk like a billing code. Linda would have wanted this, Julia added. Soft now. I shut my eyes. There it was again. Linda, my wife. I said, don't say her name when you're trying to move me out of my home, Julia. It's ugly. That landed. I could hear it. When you raise kids, you learn the difference between silence that means I'm thinking and silence that means I've been caught. This was the second one. After a few seconds, she said, voice small, can you come by my place later? We wrote up something simple. Nothing scary. I just want you to look at it. That's all. Just look. Please. I know you're angry, and you have every right. I told Matt that, by the way. I told him he went way too far. Liar, I thought. Out loud, I said, text me the time. Thank you, she said quick, relief flooding her tone. Thank you. I love you. I'm on your side in this, Dad. You know that, right? I'm the only one on your side right now. My jaw clenched so hard I felt it in the hinge of my ear. Sure you are, I said. Text me the time. We hung up. I sat staring at the deeds. Then I did something I'm not sure I would have done yesterday. I took pictures, clear ones, front and back, every page. I emailed them to myself. I printed copies. I put originals back in the box and slid it under the sink again, but I tucked one clean copy of the warehouse deed in the inside pocket of my jacket. I stood and tested my balance. My ribs ached, my face burned, but that purpose heat in my gut had spread. It felt like coffee, if coffee could carry a grudge. They want a war, I said to my empty kitchen. They can have a war, but not the kind they think. I washed my cup and put it in the rack, because no matter how mad you are, you don't leave your sink a mess. Then I grabbed my keys, locked my door behind me, and went to go start tearing apart my son's life. There is a moment every man remembers with his son. Sometimes it's teaching him to shave. Sometimes it's showing him how to throw a ball. Sometimes it's the first time you talk to him like an equal and not like a kid. For me, that moment used to be the morning I gave Matt the access code to the roll-up on Warehouse Unit C and said, "This is yours, but don't embarrass me." Funny what time does. Now the moment I'm going to remember is watching him stick his fancy new key into a lock I changed and jiggle it like the door owed him loyalty. The warehouse sits at the back of Industrial Court, which is a generous name for a cracked stretch of asphalt behind a chain-link fence and a row of half-dead saplings. You access it through a gate with a lazy padlock, and that soft groan of metal that always sounds like it's complaining. When I rolled up just after lunch that day, the first thing I did was change both padlocks and the cylinder on the door. Some people will tell you that you need a locksmith for that. Those people never spent 30 years in operations for a construction supplier. You learn real fast how to swap out hardware using what you have on hand and what's in the truck, because waiting means theft, and theft means a conversation with the owner you don't want to have. I brought my own new cylinders, my own padlocks, and a good screwdriver. 10 minutes and both locks were mine. I taped a plain white sheet of paper to the door at eye level. Black marker, clean block letters. By order of Daniel Cole, majority owner, access is suspended until further notice. Call before entry. Then I waited. He didn't make me wait long. Matt's truck whipped into the lot like it was a chase scene. Tires through gravel. He was still in his tux pants, like he hadn't even changed from the night before, just swapped the jacket for one of his company hoodies. Lane and Cole renovations. Custom embroidery on the chest. It used to make me proud. Watching him climb out of that truck now, jaw twitching, face flushed, hoodie shoulder spattered with something that looked like dried champagne, I felt nothing but cold focus. He wasn't alone. He had one of his crew with him. Kid named Trevor. Skinny. Neckbeard. Always wears backward caps. Good with demo, lousy with receipts. Followed Matt like a stray dog follows whoever gives it fries. Matt slammed his door and came at me in a straight line. "What the hell is this?" he said, jabbing a finger toward my sign. "Good morning to you too," I said. "You can't do this," he said. "What is this? What are you doing?" "Suspending access," I said. "Sign says so." "You can't," he said, louder now, throwing a glance back at Trevor for backup. "You can't bar me from my own property, Dad. Are you out of your mind?" "My property," I said. "It's mine," he said, jabbing his thumb at his own chest. "My company. My warehouse." 49%, I said. He blinked. I pulled the folded copy of the deed from inside my jacket like a magic trick and held it up in front of his face. "Read the numbers," I said. He swatted at the paper like it was a fly. I didn't move it. I held it there steady. Make him look. Make him see it written. He looked. I watched his eyes track the lines. I watched the confusion pull his eyebrows in. I watched, and I will be petty here. I enjoyed it. Yes, I did. "What is this?" he said. "It's the paperwork you didn't read when you brought me in on this," I said. 51% me, 49 you. You got a nice space and supplier credit, and I got leverage, so I wouldn't end up in a folding cot behind the paint rack when I hit 70. Remember that. Trevor shifted from foot to foot like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Good instinct, Trevor." Matt laughed. It came out high and fake. "You serious right now?" he said. "You're serious. You're actually like locking me out of my own equipment because you're mad about last night." "Not mad," I said. "Done." "You can't be done," he said, taking a step closer. Too close. Hot breath. I could smell old whiskey and wedding cake frosting, and that cheap body spray he never grew out of. "You don't get to just decide that. We're family." I smiled. I couldn't help it. "Ah," I said, "now we're family." His nostrils flared. "Look," he said, trying a softer tone, spreading his hands like we were two partners having a misunderstanding. "Last night got loud. Okay, fine. Avery popped off. You got in her face and embarrassed her in front of everyone on our wedding night. So yeah, she kind of lost it. She can be like that. You know how she gets. You escalated it, Dad. You did. If we're being honest. And I said some things because I was pissed. I shouldn't have said Parasite. Obviously. That was... Look, I was drunk. I'm sorry. But you're being insane right now. I have jobs. I have deadlines. I have guys depending on me. I got to get in there and pull out tile for a bathroom demo, or I'm going to lose the client. So just give me the keys and let's not do this. Okay, just give me the keys. There it was again. Just give me what I want and we will pretend this didn't happen. We will glue the mask back on and go back to the script, where I am the grateful old man in the background shot. I said, no. His jaw twitched so hard a vein stood in his neck. He took another step, and this time he grabbed my jacket lapels. Open the door, he said, low and tight. It is one thing to hear your kid talk to you like that. It is another to see his hand on your clothes, like you are someone to be shoved around. Pain is white. Anger is red. Humiliation is purple like a bruise. What I felt right then wasn't any of those. It was black, cold, dense, heavy. It had gravity. Take your hands off me, I said, calm. He didn't. I put my hand around his wrist. I squeezed just hard enough for him to feel tendons. You've never laid hands on me in anger in 32 years, I said, voice low, so only he could hear it. Don't make this number one. He let go. He did it fast, like he hadn't realized he'd even grabbed me. Then, like angry men do when they feel that moment of shame, he covered it with more anger. This is illegal, he said, turning, throwing his arms wide at the empty lot like it was a jury. This is illegal, Dad. You can't lock me out. You're stealing my own stuff. I will call the cops. I swear to God, I will call the cops and tell them you're trying to rob me and that you're mentally messed up and you shouldn't even be left alone. I will get you removed from that apartment so fast it'll make you dizzy. I'll get emergency guardianship if I have to. I will put you in a home and take the house the right way. You hear me? You hear me? There it was. Pure. No spin. No Avery words. No PR gloss. Just my son threatening to put me in a home so he could get my keys. Even Trevor looked away at that. I felt myself smiling again, slow this time. Call them, I said. What? He said. Call the cops, I said, nice and clear. He blinked. Let's have that conversation, I said. You tell them, officer, I'm mad because my dad is majority owner of this warehouse and changed the locks so I can't get to my business equipment, and he's mentally unfit, and I want to get emergency guardianship so I can move him out of his apartment and take his property. Say it slow so I can record it. Matt's mouth opened and closed. Once. Twice. He looked like a fish pulled out of water and set on a dock. You wouldn't, he said. I'm recording right now, I lied. Waved to the mic. You can't do this, he said. I can, I said, and I am. He swallowed hard, looked at the door, fists flexing. Then he tried to shove past me anyway, and even though I'm not a big man, and I'm not young, and 20 slaps and a bad night's sleep will make your knees feel older than your driver's license says you are, I stepped over and planted myself square in front of that door and didn't move. He hit my shoulder with his, hard. I stumbled back a half step and caught myself on the cinder block wall, skinning my knuckles on rough paint. Pain flared. I didn't give him the noise. You can't give them the noise. The second you go, you're weak, you're old, you're ready to be boxed up. Move, he said. No, I said. He reached for his keyring, grabbed the old cylinder key, jammed it at the lock. The new lock stared back at him, smooth and clean, none of the old scratches around it. He tried the key anyway. He turned the key. Nothing opened. I could have lived off the look on his face for a week. He yanked. He rattled. He cursed under his breath. He jammed the key harder, like maybe if he showed the lock he was serious, it would respect him more. The door didn't care. Metal doesn't care about your feelings. Finally, he spun and slammed his palm against the steel. You are done, he said, breathing hard. You are done. You hear me? I heard you last night, I said, loud and clear. He took one fast step like he was going to swing. Trevor grabbed his arm. Dude, Trevor muttered. Dude, no, dude, not worth it. Cameras everywhere, dude. Matt shook him off. Stood there shaking, chest heaving. He was trying to think. It was painful to watch. Then he pointed at me, finger shaking, and said, You're not part of this family anymore. You hear me? You're done. You are not part of this family. And it hit me that he thought that was the nuclear line, that he thought kicking me out of the circle, out of the word family, was the worst thing he could possibly do. He had no idea. My voice felt like gravel. "Then I don't owe you mercy," I said. He blinked, didn't even get it yet. He turned and stomped back to his truck, mumbling to himself. Trevor jogged after him like a dog you forgot to close the gate on. Gravel spit under their tires as they tore out. I stood there in the empty lot, knuckles bleeding, cheek throbbing, ribs aching, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt awake. You don't want me as family. Fine. Watch what I am without that word holding me back. Here's something I learned working operations in construction supply for 3 decades. The cops are not who you fear in this business. You fear losing your line. Not your phone line, your materials line. I walked into Talbot Supply with a fresh cup of gas station coffee and a face that told its own story. I didn't have to say a word before the guy at the front counter, Eddie, whistled low. "Jesus, Dan," Eddie said. "You good?" "Wedding games," I said. He shook his head slow, like he'd just seen a car total itself in slow motion. Talbot Supply is not pretty. It doesn't have to be. It's a cinder block box behind a yard full of pallets, forklifts, and more dust than daylight. Coffee tastes like someone filtered it through a shop rag. Walls are covered in calendars with trade show girls from 3 years ago and hand-drawn signs that say things like, "Return your skids or die." If you want fancy, you go to the big box store and get gouged. If you want to actually build stuff in this county, you come here, shake hands, talk terms, and pray Eric is feeling generous. Eric was already at the back desk when I walked in. He'd called me 3 times after the wedding and I hadn't picked up, not because I didn't want to talk, but because I didn't trust my voice yet. I trust it now. He stood when he saw me, big frame unfolding from a rolling chair that had given up on being ergonomic sometime during the Bush administration. "You good to talk?" he said. "I'm good," I said. "You sure?" he said, looking at my cheek. "It looks worse than it feels," I lied. Eddie made himself scarce, which is code for he ducked into the back to pretend to check inventory so he could listen through the door. Eric motioned me into his little office corner, which is really just a cage of chain link and plywood with a desk and 2 chairs. He shut the makeshift door anyway, like this was top secret. He said, "I'm sorry last night went like that. I didn't know those 2 were that far gone." "Neither did I said. He nodded slow. "You want me to handle it?" "I'm going to handle it," I said. That made his eyebrows go up a little. "All right then," he said. "What do you need?" And just like that, there it was. The first real tool in my revenge kit. It wasn't money. It wasn't muscle. It wasn't blackmail. It was something no kid with a ring light understands. It was reputation. "I need you to freeze him," I said. Eric leaned back. His face didn't show surprise, just respect. "You sure?" he said. "Very," I said. Freezing in our world is simple. You stop extending credit. You stop releasing stock. You stop loading drywall or tile or flooring into a truck unless money clears in full first. In cash. Up front. None of this, "I'll hit you on Friday when my check comes through" stuff. None of this, "Bill me net 60, you know I'm good for it, bro" talk. It's not illegal. It's not even dramatic. It's just business. And business without credit is like lungs without air. "Done," Eric said, without asking for reasons or speeches. As of now, anybody calls in orders under Lane and Cole, I say, "Hold the ticket." If he comes in himself, I tell him accounts are under review, pending ownership dispute. That phrase will get around. People hear ownership dispute. They sit on their hands. His pipeline will be dry by the weekend. I nodded. "Thank you," I said. Eric shrugged. "Kid turned on his own dad in front of me," he said. "There's wrong and then there's wrong. This is wrong." He was quiet a second, then said something I wasn't expecting. "You sure you don't want to just let this cool off?" he said. "Sometimes these things get hot, and then they simmer down. You don't want to cut him off forever. He's still your boy." I looked at him. "Last night he tried to take my home while I was sitting in it," I said. Today he threatened to have me declared incompetent so he could shove me in a home and sell my place. He thinks I'm old and alone and soft. He thinks I'm a problem he can solve with paperwork and guilt. I love him. He's still my son. But we passed forever back at slap number 12. Eric sucked his teeth, nodded. Fair enough, he said. Also, I said, I want word out. Eric smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Oh, he said, you want word out. I want every small crew chief in the county to know exactly what happened at that wedding, I said. Not spin, not Avery's version where I'm some confused old man who wandered into the cake table and scared the children. The truth. I want them to know he called me a parasite into a mic, and she hit me 20 times in front of 100 witnesses, and then tried to take my keys while telling everyone I forget my pills. I want guys to hear that and go, if he'll do that to his own father, how's he going to treat me when it's time to pay? Eric let out a low whistle. You trying to starve him, he said. I'm trying to show him gravity, I said. He nodded, slow. Respect again. Maybe a little pity, too. I didn't care. I'll make calls, he said. He did more than make calls. I watched him pull out his old man phone, black, cracked, screen protector bubbled and peeling, and start a chain reaction I could feel shaking through the walls. Ralph, he said into the first call. Eric, listen, heads up. No more credit to Lane and Cole right now. Yeah, I know you fronted him those countertops. You might not see that money, brother. There's a dispute on the warehouse, and I'm hearing some things you don't want tied to your books. You didn't hear it from me? Yeah. Yep, that's what I heard. Parasite. Yep. In front of his whole family. Uh-huh. Filmed. I know. Ugly, right? So yeah, freeze him. All right. He hung up, dialed again. By the third call, he wasn't even using my name. He didn't have to. All he had to say was, you hear what happened at that wedding? And the other end lit up like dry brush. Gossip spreads faster than mold in this business, faster than water through drywall. 1 hour and a whole county knows who's in a fight, who's sleeping with whose subcontractor, who's going under, and who can't pay their bills. Reputations feed or starve you. That's not drama talk. That's math. In 20 minutes, my son's future got a crack in it. I watched the first fracture form. I watched it widen. I didn't feel sorry. I felt relief, because now, instead of me living in fear of my own kid, my kid was about to start living in fear of losing his pipeline. This is important. Power is not always money. Power is what you can take from someone that they cannot get back on their own. Eric ended his last call, stuck his phone in his pocket, and leaned back. Done, he said. By sundown, everybody who matters will know he's risky paper, which means by tomorrow morning, anybody who does business with him is going to ask for full payment up front. Which means by the weekend he's underwater on 3 jobs. Which means his pretty wife is going to get real quiet when she realizes her honeymoon got repossessed. Good, I said. Eric tapped the desk. What next? He said. Next, I said. I go see Julia. You think she's with you? He said. I used to, I said. We were quiet a second. Dan, Eric said softer. Be careful. You're doing this right, but be careful. You know how people get when money and pride are both on the line. I'm counting on it, I said. Julia's condo smells like lemon cleaner and desperation. It's not a big place. 2 bedrooms stacked over a nail salon in one of those new builds with fake brick glued to the outside, and a gym nobody uses. She pays too much. I know it. She knows it. But image matters to her. She'll say it's because of Liam's school district. She won't say it's because she likes the way people look at her when she says condo instead of apartment. Liam was on the floor in the living room, with a tablet propped against a throw pillow, headphones on, knees tucked under him. He looked up when I walked in, and I swear to God I almost turned around and left, because that kid's face almost broke me. Grandpa, he said, smiling around a missing front tooth, your face is purple. I know, I said. I was in a paint fight. You should have seen the other guy. He laughed so hard he snorted. Then he went back to his game. 8 years old and already knows how to tune out adult stress like it's static. Kitchen, Julia said. Her voice was tight, too bright. The way people sound when they already lost but are still playing like they can tie it up at the buzzer. I followed her into the little half-kitchen. White cabinets, marble-look laminate, a fridge with school flyers and appointment cards stuck to it under alphabet magnets. There were papers on the table, neat stack, printed, clipped. Seeing that neat stack gave me a worse chill than anything Avery did with her hand. Before you start, Julia said, hands up, palms out, like she was dealing with a stubborn client, I just want you to read, that's all. Just read. Nobody's asking you to sign right now, okay? I'm not Avery. I'm not doing a show. I'm trying to help you. I love you, Dad. Every time she said Dad like that, soft and urgent, I wanted to grab that word back out of her mouth because she was using it like bait. Okay, I said. Let's read. We sat. She slid the top sheet toward me. I recognized the format right away. Not because I work in law, but because 30 years in operations means I've seen a contract or two. Everything in this world comes down to paperwork and who read it. Header at the top of the first page said Lane and Cole Family Care Agreement. Cute. First paragraph said, I, Daniel Cole, voluntarily acknowledge the need for supportive residential care appropriate to my age and condition, and agree to relocate to a safe, supervised living environment as arranged by my adult children, Matthew Cole and Julia Cole. I felt my stomach go cold. I kept reading. Paragraph 2 said, in exchange for such care and oversight, I hereby assign all rights, title, and control of the real property located at 412A, 402B Martin Street, as well as all fixtures and furnishings therein, to Matthew Cole and Julia Cole, jointly, effective immediately, with survivorship rights, for the purpose of streamlining asset management and avoiding complex probate proceedings. I felt something crawling hot up the back of my neck. Paragraph 3 said I further authorize said adult children full access to any and all financial accounts, lines of credit, vendor accounts, equipment, physical property, titles, and business interests, including but not limited to the property located at 57 Industrial Court, Unit C, for the express purpose of overseeing my affairs in a comprehensive and efficient manner. I stopped reading. This is a guardianship transfer, I said. My voice sounded calm. I did not feel calm. I felt like a live wire. It's not guardianship, Julia said fast. It's just a proactive care agreement. It's a safety thing. It's like a power of attorney, but softer. It prevents probate nightmares. Dad, you don't understand how ugly probate can be. You work as a paralegal, I said. Don't lawyer me. Tell me plain. This says I'm agreeing I can't take care of myself. I'm moving into supervised care, and I'm handing you and Matt everything I own so you two can control it while I'm out of the way. Dad, she said, that's not fair. Is it true? I said. It's one way to look at it, she said, pushing a quick smile that looked more like a grimace. But that sounds harsh, and you know I would never do anything to hurt you. My hands were shaking, not rage shaking. Rage is hot. This was cold. This was shaking from a place of recognition, because I had seen this move before, just not in my own kitchen. I had watched this exact tactic used on a guy named Frank who ran insulation crews for years. His kids had him sign power of attorney papers for convenience. And 2 months later, he was in an assisted living suite with a roommate who screamed in his sleep, and his kids were gutting his house to flip it. Where'd you draft this? I said. Quiet. Julia blinked. What do you mean? She said. I mean, I said, tapping the lower right corner of page 1. This footer you forgot to crop. Right there. Cole and Halverson Real Estate Council, PLLC. That's your firm's footer. You used your employer to draft this. Julia's eyes flicked down, fast, then up. Her cheeks went red. It was nothing, she said quick. I just asked for a template. Everybody does it. It's not billable. It's not like I charged you. Dad, stop. You're doing that thing where you act like everything is corruption. It's not. It's not. You're being paranoid right now because Avery went nuclear and you feel attacked, and I get that. I get that. I'm on your side. I am literally on your side. I'm trying to keep Matt from making this ugly. You know him. He's stubborn. He listens to her too much. If I don't get ahead of this, he's going to try something stupid, and I'm trying to keep that from happening. By having me sign myself into supervised care, I said. It's not supervised care, she said. It's assisted independence. I almost laughed. Assisted independence. That was Avery's phrasing. I could hear her voice in Julia's mouth. My little girl was talking like Avery now. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. Julia, I said, keeping my voice low. Look at me. She looked. Big brown eyes, same as when she was 5 and had climbed up on the counter to steal cookies. Did you and Avery plan what she did last night? I said. Her eyes flickered. Tiny tell. Not even a second. No, she said. Lie. Did you tell her to ask for my keys in front of everybody? I said. Her throat worked. Dad, she said, did you tell my son to stand there and let his wife hit me and call me a parasite so you could use that to make me look unstable and get this agreement signed by Monday? I said. Her eyes filled with tears so fast you'd think I hit a button. I cannot believe you're accusing me of that, she whispered. After everything I've done for you, after I sat up with you when Mum died, after I brought you food, after I checked on you every week, after I took Liam over to see you because Matt never brings the baby around. I have been there. I have been the only one there. And you're going to sit in my kitchen and accuse me of... What? Of plotting some scheme with Avery. Are you kidding me right now? Do you hear how crazy you sound? She was good. She was real good. If I hadn't watched last night with my own eyes, I might have folded. I might have signed, out of guilt. I might have told myself I was doing the right thing to streamline administration of my estate. But here's the thing about guilt. Guilt makes you stupid. Anger wakes you up. And I was awake. I'm not signing, I said. Her tears stopped like someone hit pause. Dad, she said, no more sweetness. There it was, the tone, flat, cold. The one she uses on clients who won't turn in receipts. Not today, not tomorrow, I said. Not ever. Nobody's moving me anywhere. Nobody's taking my keys. Nobody's touching my bank or my deed. You want to care for me when I'm old. You do it by coming over on Sundays and asking me how my back feels. You do not do it by parking me in a facility and selling my house while I'm still breathing in it. Her face went still. You don't get to make that call alone, she said, voice quiet, dangerous quiet. This affects all of us. You don't live in a vacuum, Dad. You can't just block resources because you're in a mood. You're going to cost Matt his company. Do you understand that? Without supplier trust, he is done. Avery's job is built on his brand now, Dad. She quit her agency to focus on growing Lane and Cole. If his reputation tanks, hers tanks, and then the both of them are underwater, and I'm not going to be able to float 2 households on my salary. This isn't just about you being stubborn. This is about all of our lives. There it was. There it finally was. The quiet truth. This wasn't about love. This was about money. Their money. She kept going, like she couldn't stop now that it started spilling. Do you have any idea what I'm carrying? She said, voice shaking with anger now instead of fake tears. Liam's school is $9,000 a semester. $9,000, Dad. His dad bailed, so it's me. Car payment on the SUV is almost a mortgage on its own. Everything is expensive. Insurance is insane. Groceries are insane. I'm barely sleeping. I'm doing billable work on weekends just to cover private school because I am trying to give my son something better than I had. And you sitting here going, no, like a stubborn old man, is not noble, it's selfish. You are being selfish. We are drowning and you are sitting on a paid-off duplex and a commercial unit you don't even use, and acting like a dragon on a pile of gold while your kids are scrambling. You think that's Father of the Year. You think Mom would be proud of that. No, she would be disgusted with you right now. She would be ashamed. Her hand flew to her mouth like she hadn't meant to say that last part out loud. Silence filled the little kitchen, thick and buzzing. In the living room, Liam laughed at something on his tablet. Little bubble of kid joy like none of this existed. I sat there and stared at my daughter, my sweet Julia, my peacemaker, my soft-voiced helper. There she was. There was the person under the nice, not a monster. I won't say that. She was not evil. She was desperate. She was scared. She was backed into a corner by money and image and pride and the fear of being seen as less. And desperate people will do cruel things and tell themselves it's mercy. That doesn't make it less cruel. You said a lot just now, I said. She swallowed, said nothing. I'll remember all of it, I said. But for now, let's focus. I am not signing this. I am not moving. I am not transferring ownership of anything. And if you or your brother or his wife or anyone else tries to move me out of my apartment without my consent, I will fight you with every boring, ugly, legal trick I learned in 30 years of operations. I will make noise. I will make paperwork. I will make it public. I will embarrass you in front of everyone you care about. Do you hear me, Julia? Do you hear me, sweetheart? Her nostrils flared. You can't embarrass me worse than last night, she snapped. Avery had to literally make a scene just to get you to admit you can't handle living alone anymore. Everyone saw how you were acting. You were confused. You were combative. You were making up stories. You wouldn't even give up your keys when you promised you would. You looked unstable, Dad. That matters. It's on like 50 phones. If this gets ugly, we can show a judge that. Don't make me do that. Please. Don't make me. Because I will. I will, Dad. I don't want to. But I will. There it was again. The threat wrapped in concern. I'll ruin you for your own good. My hand stopped shaking. Thank you, I said quietly. She blinked. For what? She said. For telling me exactly where to aim next, I said. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? She said. It means I'm done being sad, I said, standing. My knees popped. Felt every year. Didn't show it. It means I'm going to fix this. It means you're all going to learn something about me you should have already known. Dad, she said, voice rising, panic creeping in now. What does that mean? Don't be dramatic. What are you going to do? Dad, you can't do anything. You don't have... I'm going to take away from you exactly what you tried to take from me, I said. Matt's going to lose his company. Avery's going to lose her image. You're going to lose your safety net. And you're all going to lose me. Her mouth opened. And Julia, I said, when I'm done, do not ever call me asking for money again. I walked out of that kitchen shaking, but it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. Revenge is not screaming in the moment. Revenge is slow. Revenge is careful. Revenge is making sure every person who put their hands on you feels that exact pressure back on their own throat, one finger at a time. I kissed Liam on the top of his head and told him I'd see him soon. He smelled like shampoo and cereal. He looked up and gave me a lazy wave without looking away from his game. Bye, Grandpa, he said. My heart cracked again, then hardened around the crack. I stepped into the hallway and pulled the door shut behind me. I had a plan now. Now, all I needed was proof. The first time your grown son chases you through a grocery store parking lot like he's going to mug you, something in you dies you can't get back. It happened that evening. I was smart enough not to go straight home. I knew they were hot. I knew Julia was going to call Matt the second I left and say, "We have a problem." I knew Matt was going to hear it and go straight to rage instead of thought. He always was more temper than brain when cornered. So instead of heading back to Martin Street, I stopped at the food barn on Maple to pick up milk and eggs. Normal, ordinary, anchor yourself in routine. That was my thinking. Grab milk, grab eggs, grab bread, get some bananas, get back home, lock my door, sleep on it. It almost worked. I was in the bread aisle deciding between wheat and the cheap white that tastes like air when I saw Matt's truck roll slow past the big front windows. At first, I told myself it was a coincidence. There are only so many grocery stores in town. Then I saw the way the truck didn't park. It circled. Slow. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown caller. I didn't pick up. The truck circled again. I sighed, grabbed the wheat, tucked it under my arm, and headed for checkout. I am not built for running. My left knee has been mad at me since 2004, when I misjudged a loading dock step and jumped instead of climbing like a smart person. But I am built for survival. You don't make it to 61 in this line of work without learning when a situation is about to go loud. I paid cash. Old habit. Slid out the automatic doors with my bag in one hand and my keys in the other, ready to hit the alarm on my Ford if I had to draw attention. It's sad, being an old man and already thinking in terms of draw attention in a parking lot with your own son. But here we are. The truck whipped in front of me before I got 3 steps off the curb. Tires squealed. Headlights flashed. The passenger door popped open and Trevor climbed out, looking like he really, really wished he was anywhere else. Matt jumped out of the driver's side, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame, and came at me fast. "You think you're smart," he said, jabbing a finger at my chest before I could even open my mouth. "You think you're clever, going around calling suppliers, getting people to freeze me. You think I wouldn't hear. You think Eric doesn't call me when you start running your mouth. What are you doing, old man? You trying to starve me? You trying to ruin me? Are you actually trying to ruin my life?" I raised my eyebrows. "Interesting choice of words," I said. "Don't," he snapped. "Don't start with that sarcastic crap. Give me your phone." "What?" I said. "Give me your phone," he said. "Now. You're recording people. Julia said you're recording people. Hand it over." "Julia talked fast," I said. He lunged. Not a swing, not a punch. A grab. Straight for my jacket pocket where my phone sat. He did it like he'd done it before. Muscle memory. I had this flash of horrible clarity, wondering who he'd practiced that on. Avery, probably. They look like a couple that gets physical when the cameras are off. His hand hit my jacket. I jerked back. My heel hit the painted line of the handicap space stop. My knee went sideways. Pain flared hot. "Dad, stop," Trevor hissed, half-stepping between us like he thought that could keep this from going nuclear. "Dude, chill, man. Chill, chill, chill. There's cameras, dude. There's cameras everywhere." Matt shoved him aside. "Give me the phone," he snarled. You ever seen an old bull push a younger one with its head? No gore, no horns, just pure weight and stubborn. I did that with a shopping cart. There was a loose cart 3 feet away. I grabbed it by the handle, yanked it between us like a shield, and shoved. Hard. Harder than my back thought was smart. Wheels squealed. Metal clanged. The front of the cart smashed into Matt's buddy's shins. Trevor yelped, stumbled back, and went down on his butt with a curse. Matt dodged, but not clean. The cart's side caught his thigh and threw him off step. He stumbled, arms pinwheeling. People stared. A woman loading groceries into her trunk froze mid-reach. A teenager with a case of energy drinks held his phone up like it weighed nothing, and he was already filming. Of course. Of course. "Sir," a voice barked. "Security." The food barn has a weekend security guy, big dude, shoulders like a fridge. He came jogging across the lane, hand raised. "Sir, is everything okay here?" Matt spun toward him, face twisted. "This is my father," he snapped. "He's not well. He's having an episode. I'm just trying to get him home safe. He gets like this. He's confused. Put your phone down, Dad. Put your phone down. Stop recording me. Stop trying to make me look bad in front of people. You're sick, you hear me? You're sick." That word sick hit me harder than his hands. That was the setup. That was the play. That was the line they'd rehearsed. Sick, unsafe, needs care, can't live alone, can't make his own decisions. Got to move him out for his own good. This wasn't just family drama. This was strategy. "Officer," I said to the security guy, keeping my voice calm as a Sunday morning. I'm fine. I'm going home to my apartment at 412A Martin Street, where I live alone and pay all my own bills and take all my own medication, which currently consists of 2 Advil, when my back hurts and nothing else. This man, I pointed at Matt, and his friend followed me here and tried to take my phone. I do not consent to them touching me. I do not consent to them following me. I feel threatened. You should have seen Matt's face. Pure shock. He had expected me to yell. He had expected me to swing. He had expected me to look like the picture he wanted to paint. He had not expected calm legal language in a parking lot. Security guy looked from me to him, reading the air. Sir, he said to Matt, voice going professional, hands up, still calm. You need to back off. Right now, I'm asking you to take a step back and keep your hands off this gentleman. You understand me? This is my father, Matt said, trying again. He's not... I heard you, security said. I'm asking you to step back anyway. This is a company parking lot. If you don't step back, I'm calling the police. It's up to you if you want to have this conversation with them instead of me. Trevor was still on the ground, rubbing his shin like a soccer player looking for sympathy. Dude, he hissed up at Matt. Let's just go, man. Dude, come on. This is not worth it. Dude, seriously, let's just go. Matt glared at me with a look I hadn't seen since he was 14, and I told him he couldn't take my truck out with his friends, and he told me I was ruining his life. He'd meant it then. In that way, teenagers mean it. He meant it now, for real. This isn't over, he said. It's already over, I said. He stalked back to his truck. Trevor scrambled up and limped after him. The truck peeled out of the lot like a bat out of... like it was late for something important. Security turned to me. You good, sir? He said. I'm fine, I said. Thank you. You got cameras here, right? Yes, sir, he said. You mind if I get a copy of that later? I said. In case I need it to prove I'm not crazy when my children try to declare me incompetent. The security guard blinked. Then his mouth twitched. I'll talk to the manager, he said. You have a good night, sir. You too, I said. I walked to my car slow. My knee was screaming. My pride was louder. You might think I felt low after that. You'd be wrong. I felt armed. Because now I didn't just have paper. I had witnesses. I had video. I had a record of my adult son trying to take my property in public and me acting calm while he acted aggressive. You know what judges like. Calm old men. You know what they don't like. Grown entrepreneurs who look like they're about to swing on their father in a grocery store. They wanted to build a case that I was unsafe alone. They were building my case instead. I drove home, locked my door, sat down in my recliner with the duct tape on the arm. My cheek throbbed. My knuckles burned. My knee pulsed. I put a bag of frozen peas on it like an old man cliché and laughed to myself in the dark. Not part of this family anymore, I whispered to the empty room. Okay, let's see how your life works without me then.